The nurse pulled her jacket tight as the hospital door slid open. It was past midnight. The air smelled of bleach and asphalt. That was when she saw him again. The dog. Mud caked his fur, his ribs pressed against his skin. But he stood tall, unmoving, eyes locked on the glass doors as if they held a secret only he knew. She slowed her steps. For 3 nights now, he had been there, never lying down, never begging, just waiting. Patients whispered about him. Some crossed the street, muttering that he looked dangerous. Others tossed scraps his way. He never touched them. Tonight, the nurse crouched low, holding out half a sandwich wrapped in paper. "Hey, boy," she whispered. Her voice softened like she was speaking to a patient. The dog's head turned sharply. His body tensed. A growl rose deep from his chest, not at her, but at the doors behind her. His eyes never left the glass. The nurse's breath caught. The automatic doors hissed. Slowly, they slid open. The dog stepped forward. What do you think the dog is waiting for? Subscribe now, so you don't miss what happens next. By morning, the stray was still there. The night shift nurse had gone home, but when the sun came up and the day shift arrived, the dog had not moved. He stood at the same spot, pressed against the shadow of the hospital wall, his eyes fixed on the sliding doors. At first, people laughed about him. "Every hospital has a ghost," one orderly said. "Ours just happens to bark." But as the hours turned into days, the laughter thinned. Food was offered. Bowls of water were set down. Blankets, even. He accepted none of it. When a guard tried to nudge him away with a broom, the dog only lowered his head and planted his paws deeper into the concrete. He would not leave. Nurses complained he was frightening patients. Visitors snapped photos, posting them online with captions. "The ghost dog of St. Mary's Hospital." Some swore his eyes glowed at night. Others whispered that he belonged to someone inside. But no one claimed him. The boy first saw the dog on a Wednesday. He was 10, thin as a reed, carrying a plastic bag of fruit for his mother's recovery. She was on the 3rd floor, recovering from surgery. He walked through the entrance, dragging his sneakers on the floor. When he caught sight of the animal, the boy stopped. The dog wasn't just sitting. He was waiting. His entire body leaned toward the doors like a bowstring pulled tight. Visitors passed in and out. The dog never flinched. The boy's chest ached a little. He knew the look. His own eyes had been glued to that same set of doors many nights, waiting for news about his mother. "Hey," he whispered. The dog turned. His ears flicked forward. His eyes, the color of river mud, studied him without blinking. The boy reached into his bag and pulled out a bottle of water. He unscrewed the cap and poured some into the palm of his hand. The dog stepped closer, cautious. His nose twitched. Slowly, his tongue flicked out and touched the boy's skin. That was all. Then the dog stepped back again, gaze snapping back to the sliding doors. The boy smiled. Over the next days, the boy made a ritual of it. Every time he visited his mother, he stopped by the gate. He talked to the dog in a low voice, the way children do with secrets. He told him about his mother, how she used to braid his hair when it got too long, how she always sang while cooking, even if she didn't know the words, how he was scared now that she was sick, but he was trying to be brave. The dog listened. He didn't move much, but sometimes his ears flicked at the sound of the boy's voice. Sometimes, when no one else was around, he crept close enough to take water from the boy's hand again. Still, he never touched food, never slept, always waiting. People grew uneasy. "Why doesn't it leave?" a visitor muttered. "Dogs don't just wait around for nothing," another said. The guard, frustrated, called animal control once. But when the van pulled up, the dog vanished into the alley. Hours later, he was back in his place, as if nothing had happened. Rumors spread like infection. "He's waiting for someone inside." No, it's a ghost. A sign. "Dog smell death. He's warning us." The boy shook his head every time he heard them. He knew, with the stubborn faith only children had, that the dog was waiting for someone who mattered. It was on a Friday evening that he saw the dog react. A stretcher rolled past the entrance, wheels squeaking against the linoleum. A body lay on it, hidden beneath a sheet. Nurses guided it swiftly, their faces pale and set. The dog's head shot up. His body trembled. His ears pinned back. A low whine escaped his throat, high and broken. He lunged forward, claws scraping the ground. The automatic doors opened with a hiss, and for one terrifying moment it seemed he would bolt inside. But the guard stepped in front, blocking the way. The dog froze, chest heaving, eyes locked on the stretcher until it disappeared down the corridor. Then he sank back to the concrete, silent again, but his sides shivered as if the world had cracked open. The boy stood frozen, his small hands clutching the straps of his bag. His throat went dry. He had never seen an animal mourn. That night, the boy begged his mother to let him visit earlier, to bring food scraps for the dog. She frowned. You shouldn't go near strays. They can bite. He won't bite me, the boy said quickly. He's just waiting. For what? The boy hesitated. His heart pounded. For someone who's not coming back. His mother turned away, her eyes damp. She didn't answer. The hospital had its own rhythm. Beeping monitors, distant coughs, the rustle of carts and clipboards. But outside, the rhythm was the same. The dog at the gate, motionless, watching. Every stretcher that passed, every ambulance that screeched to a halt, the dog's body stiffened, his gaze desperate. Each time, the boy's chest squeezed tighter. Days blurred. The boy's mother grew stronger, her cheeks less pale. She began to smile again when he visited, but the dog did not change. On the 7th day, the boy knelt on the sidewalk and whispered, "You can't wait forever." The dog's ears flicked. He leaned closer. Then the sliding doors opened. A stretcher rolled out, and the dog rose to his feet, muscles coiled, a sound rising in his throat that was half growl, half cry. The boy gasped. The hospital guard reached for his radio, and the dog lunged. The stretcher wheels clattered across the tiles. The dog lunged. The guard shouted, swinging his arm out to block. Visitors gasped, pressing back against the wall. But the dog didn't snap, didn't bite. He threw his body toward the glass, nails screeching against the smooth floor. His muzzle pressed hard to the sliding doors, fogging them with frantic breath. A sound poured from him, half growl, half cry, not anger, something else. The boy's heart raced. He could see it now. The dog wasn't dangerous. He was desperate. "Stop," the boy cried. His voice cracked across the lobby. "He's not bad." The guard glared. "Kid, get back." The stretcher disappeared down the hall. The dog's body sagged. His head dropped. Then, as the doors slid shut again, he sank down onto the concrete, curling into himself like a shadow. The boy swallowed hard. He knew he had to make someone believe him. That night, in his mother's hospital room, he told her everything. He was crying, the boy whispered. Like when you hear someone crying, but trying not to. His mother's brow furrowed. Dogs don't cry. This one does. His hands balled into fists. He's not scary. He's just waiting. Waiting for what? The boy shook his head. I don't know, but I think it's for someone who's never coming back. His mother reached for his hand. Sweetheart, you can't save every stray. But maybe I can save this one, he said. Her lips parted. For a moment, she looked at him like he was someone older than 10. Someone she almost recognized. She sighed. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. From then on, the boy became the dog's defender. When nurses complained, he spoke up. When visitors muttered, he explained softly. He's waiting. When the guard threatened animal control again, the boy stood in front of the dog, arms wide, as if his thin frame could shield him. The dog tolerated it. More than that, he seemed to know. His eyes, once dull, now flickered with something else whenever the boy approached. One morning, the boy crouched beside him. He didn't offer food this time, only his hand. Slowly, painfully slow, the dog leaned forward. His nose brushed the boy's palm. Then, at last, he pressed his head into it. The boy froze, then smiled. Warmth bloomed in his chest. He scratched gently behind the ears. The dog closed his eyes. For the first time, His body relaxed. The boy whispered, "See? You're not alone anymore." The bond deepened with each visit. The dog would rise to his feet when the boy appeared, tail swishing low like he wanted to wag, but didn't quite remember how. The boy brought him water, fresh bread from the cafeteria, even an old blanket from home. The dog refused the food, but he accepted the blanket. At night, the boy saw him curled upon it, nose tucked under his paw, though his eyes never closed for long. It was as if sleep meant missing someone's return. One afternoon, the boy decided he couldn't bear it anymore. His mother was improving. She would be discharged soon. That meant his visits would end. He couldn't leave the dog behind. He whispered to him at the gate, "Come with me, please." The dog tilted his head. The boy stood, holding out his hand like a leash. He walked slowly, step by step, away from the hospital doors. To his shock, the dog followed. Hesitant, ears back, but he followed. They made across the street. The boy's heart leapt. He imagined the dog at home, curled beside his bed. He imagined showing him the yard, the trees, the sunlight that wasn't reflected off glass. But halfway down the block, the dog froze. His body trembled. His head whipped back toward the hospital. His chest heaved as though something invisible had yanked him. "No," the boy urged. "It's okay. You can come." The dog whined, a sound so sharp it cut through the boy's ribs. Then, with a sudden bolt, the dog tore free and sprinted back. The boy ran after him, breathless. By the time he reached the gate, the dog was pressed against the sliding glass again, whining desperately at the doors, as if someone were just behind them. The boy sank to his knees. His throat ached. "Why won't you leave?" The dog didn't answer. He only kept staring, paws spread wide against the glass, body straining toward the other side. The boy wiped at his eyes. He understood now. This wasn't a stray. This was a dog who belonged to someone who had not returned. The next day, the boy asked questions. He whispered to the janitor, to the receptionist, to the night nurse. But all he got were shrugs, half smiles, and muttered rumors. Still, he kept returning to the gate, sitting cross-legged beside the dog. He told him stories again about his mother's progress, about his own fears. The dog listened. But always, when the glass doors opened, his eyes snapped back. The boy could feel it now, the presence of someone else in those eyes. Someone the dog still saw, still waited for. It wasn't just hunger that kept him here. It wasn't just stubbornness. It was love. The boy pressed his hand against the dog's side, feeling the steady thrum of his heart. "You're not lost," he whispered. "You're just waiting for someone who can't come back." The dog didn't move, didn't look away. His eyes stayed on the glass, as if the truth was too heavy to bear. The boy swallowed, his own throat tight. For the first time, he felt the weight too. That night, lying in the hard chair beside his mother's bed, the boy whispered to her, "He's not a stray. He belongs to someone. I think they're gone. But he doesn't know it yet." His mother's hand brushed through his hair. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, "Then maybe he needs someone to tell him." The boy blinked. "Who?" Her smile was faint. "Maybe you." The next morning, he returned to the gate. The dog was there as always, waiting, watching. The boy sat beside him in silence. He didn't try to lead him away this time, didn't offer food. He only whispered, "I'll wait with you as long as it takes." The dog turned his head slightly, just enough to brush his fur against the boy's shoulder. Then he went back to watching. The boy's chest ached, but this time he didn't mind. For now, they would wait together. The boy thought he knew the rhythm of the hospital by now. The shuffling feet, the constant hiss of the doors, the low murmur of voices. But that morning, when he sat beside the dog, something different happened. The janitor stopped. He was an older man, stooped from years of mopping long hallways. His uniform faded and his eyes carrying a quiet heaviness. He paused at the sight of the boy sitting so close to the animal, his hand resting gently on its back. "You shouldn't be near that stray," the janitor muttered. "He's not dangerous," the boy replied quickly. "He's just waiting." The janitor's mop squeaked across the tiles, but he didn't move on. His gaze lingered. He swallowed. Then, softly, he said, "I've seen him before." The boy's head snapped up. "You know him?" The janitor hesitated, eyes darting to the dog, as if afraid the animal might understand. "Not exactly. But months ago, there was an old man. Right there at the gate." He pointed toward the entrance. His voice dropped to a whisper, collapsed, clutching a leash in his hand. The boy's breath caught. "What happened?" "They rushed him inside. Heart attack. He didn't make it." The janitor's voice was hushed, like speaking too loud would disturb the walls. The dog broke free, ran off before anyone could grab him. I thought he was gone, but his gaze fell back on the animal. Now here he is again. The boy turned to look at the dog, whose eyes were fixed on the doors as always. A shiver ran through him. "Are you sure it's the same one?" The janitor nodded slowly. I'll never forget the way he looked. Like his heart broke the moment they pulled that man inside. The boy couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, he lay in a hard chair beside his mother's bed, staring at the ceiling. The janitor's words replayed in his head. An old man, a leash, a collapse at the very gate. He turned his head toward his mother. She was asleep, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. The sight comforted him, but it also sharpened the ache inside. What if it had been her? What if he had been left waiting by that door, never told she wouldn't come back? He squeezed his eyes shut. The image of the dog waiting and waiting tore at him. He knew he had to find out more. The next afternoon, while his mother was resting, the boy slipped into the hospital's record office. It wasn't hard to find, just a small room behind the reception desk, its door half open. Inside, shelves of dusty folders lined the walls. He stepped inside, heart pounding, afraid someone would scold him. But the room was empty, the hum of fan the only sound. He searched the shelves, fingers brushing across spines of folders. Finally, he found one label for admissions from earlier that year. His hands shook as he pulled it free. He flipped through pages, names, dates, diagnoses, and then he saw it. Unknown male, approximate age 70, collapsed outside main entrance, brought in by staff. Pronounced deceased within the hour. The boy's throat tightened. His eyes darted across the page until they landed on a final note. Personal effects included torn jacket, wallet with no ID, and broken leather leash. A leash. The boy's vision blurred. He shut the file and pressed his fist against his eyes. The dog wasn't just waiting. He was waiting for the man who would never walk out of those doors again. When he returned to the gate, the dog was there. Of course he was. The boy knelt in front of him. His voice cracked as he whispered, "He's gone." The dog's ears twitched, but his gaze never left the glass. His chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm, like the doors themselves. The boy pressed his forehead against the dog's. Tears burned his eyes. "He's not coming back. But you don't know, do you? You're still waiting." The dog gave a low whine, soft and aching, as if answering. The boy wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. The fur was coarse and smelled of earth, but he clung to it anyway. He had never hugged something that felt so full of loss. In the days that followed, the boy became restless. He couldn't bear seeing the dog press against the glass, every muscle tense, every heartbeat waiting. He told his mother about the janitor's story, about the hospital records. Her eyes filled with quiet sorrow. "That poor animal," she murmured. "He doesn't understand. He needs someone to tell him." The boy said, "And you think that someone is you?" The boy nodded. His mother reached for his hand. "Then you must be gentle. Grief doesn't loosen easy. Not for people. Not for animals either." The next morning, the boy tried again. He sat cross-legged beside the dog. "He's gone," he whispered. "I read it. They wrote it down. He died that night." His voice shook. "He can't come back." The dog turned his head slightly, eyes flicking toward the boy, before snapping back to the doors. The boy swallowed hard. He understood. The words were meaningless to the dog. The truth lived only in his absence. And still, he waited. Visitors kept whispering. Nurses kept muttering. The guard rolled his eyes every time he saw the boy crouched beside the animal. But the boy didn't care anymore. Every day, he brought his stories, his patience, his presence. And the dog, though he never left his post, allowed the boy to stay close. Sometimes, when a stretcher rolled past, the boy would wrap his arms around the dog's neck, holding him back from lunging forward. He would whisper into his fur, "It's not him. I'm sorry. It's not him." Each time, the dog sagged against him, whining, before pulling back into his vigil. The boy's chest hurt more every day, because now he knew this wasn't a stray. This was a ghost of devotion, tethered to a love that would never walk through those doors again. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hospital roof, the boy sat beside the dog in silence. The automatic doors hissed open and closed. Families walked in. Patients were wheeled out. Life moved on, but the dog stayed. And the boy, pressing his small hand against the dog's side, whispered, "If you can't leave him, then maybe I won't leave you." The dog's body leaned into his, just slightly, like the weight of grief shared. Together, they watched the doors. Together, they waited. The dog had been at the hospital gate for weeks. Some called it devotion. Others called it nuisance. Every morning, the boy found him there, pressed against the glass, ribs sharpened before, eyes fixed on the doors, as if he could will them open to reveal the man he had lost. But not everyone had patience for grief. One afternoon, a patient in a wheelchair snapped, "That thing growls every time I go past. He'll bite someone, you'll see." A nurse sighed. "We fed him, offered shelter. He refuses. He just sits there, waiting for a ghost." The guard's voice was sharper. "One more complaint, and animal control takes him. I mean it." The boy overheard, his heart hammering. He clenched his fists. The thought of strangers hauling the dog away, dragging him from the only place that tethered him to memory. It was unbearable. That evening, he whispered to the dog, "You have to eat. You're getting too weak. They'll take you if you don't." He set down scraps of chicken. The dog sniffed, but turned his head back to glass. The boy's chest ached. 2 days later, Cruelty arrived in the shape of a man. He was tall, shoulders hunched beneath a dirty jacket. He muttered about filthy strays as he walked up, a stick in his hand. Patients at the entrance looked away. No one moved. The boy froze when he saw the man raise the stick. The dog didn't move. He only lowered his head, as if bracing for the blow. "Stop!" the boy screamed. The stick swung down, but the boy darted forward, arms wide, standing between the man and the animal. The stick struck the concrete beside him with a sharp crack. Gasps erupted. The boy glared, his voice shaking but loud. "He's not hurting anyone. He's just waiting." The man spat. "Then he's waiting to spread disease. You want him, you take him. Otherwise, he goes." He lowered the stick and stalked off, muttering curses. The boy stayed frozen for a long moment, chest heaving. He could feel the dog's body press against his back, trembling. When he finally turned, the dog's eyes met his. For the first time, something flickered there, not just longing, but trust. The hospital became divided. Some visitors brought bowls of water, setting them gently near the dog. A woman left bread on the ground. An old man knelt, whispering prayers over the animal, as if it were a holy thing. But others rolled their eyes, muttering that it was disgusting, dangerous. Nurses argued at the desk. Keep him or remove him. The guard called animal control again. But each time the van arrived, the dog vanished into alleys, only to return hours later, paws raw, tail drooping, resuming his vigil as if nothing could break it. It was a war between pity and irritation, and the dog stood in the middle, silent. The boy tried everything. He brought meat from home, warm and wrapped in foil. The dog sniffed it, then turned away. He offered biscuits, crackers, even candy bars. Nothing. "Please." The boy begged, tears hot in his eyes. "Please eat. If you die, he really won't come back." But the dog didn't know the words. He only knew the doors. The boy's mother noticed a change in him. "You hardly sleep," she said softly. "Your eyes are always on that gate." He shrugged. "If I don't take care of him, No one will. You're only 10, she said. Then I'll be the youngest person to take care of someone who needs me. Her breath caught. She saw the stubborn fire in him, the same fire that had carried her through her illness. She didn't argue again. The dog grew weaker. His steps slowed. His fur lost its shine. Still, his eyes never wavered from a sliding glass. One morning, the boy found him lying down instead of standing. It was the first time. His heart lurched. He dropped to his knees. "Don't give up now," he whispered, stroking the coarse fur. "He's not coming back. But I am. I'll stay. I'll be your family." The dog's eyes flicked toward him. The boy could swear he understood. But then the doors hissed open, and the gaze snapped back, desperate, straining for a shadow that never appeared. The boy's throat tightened. "What can I do to make you see me instead of him?" That evening, as the sun bled across the sky, the boy made a choice. If the man could never return, someone had to. "I'll take him," he told his mother. "If the guard calls animal control, I'll bring him home. He can't be left to starve." His mother's eyes softened. "And if he won't come, then I'll wait with him." His jaw trembled, but his voice stayed steady. "As long as it takes." Her hand cupped his cheek. "You have your father's heart," she whispered. The boy blinked hard. He couldn't let her see him cry. The next morning, he tried again. He crouched beside the dog, speaking in a low voice. "He's gone. But I'm here. I'll never leave you. You can be my family now. Please." The dog's ears twitched. His eyes slid to the boy's face. For a heartbeat, the doors behind him opened and closed. But he didn't look. The boy's breath caught. Hope flared. Then, with a whine, the dog turned back to glass. The boy's shoulders sagged. His heart felt heavier than ever. But he didn't move. He sat there, hand resting on the dog's side, whispering again and again, "I'm here. I'm here. I'm here." The hospital murmurs grew louder. Some said the boy was wasting his time. Others said he was saving the dog's soul. But no one could deny one thing. The boy had become part of the vigil. Where the dog went, the boy followed. Where the boy sat, the dog leaned against him. It was a partnership born not of choice, but of grief. Still, the question hung between them. If the old man could not return, could the boy ever be enough? The boy knew the dog couldn't stay at the hospital forever. Every day, the arguments grew louder. The guard scowled whenever he saw them. Visitors shook their heads. And though some kind souls left water bowls and scraps, most walked past with annoyance. But the boy's mind was made up. One afternoon, as his mother signed the final discharge papers, he whispered, "We can't leave him." She looked at him, tired but smiling faintly. "Then we won't." They brought him home that evening. It wasn't easy. The dog resisted at first, dragging his paws, pulling toward the glass doors as though his soul was still chained there. His body trembled with every step away. But the boy coaxed him, soft and patient. "Just for tonight. Just rest. You can come back tomorrow." The dog finally relented, following them down the street. His tail hung low, his eyes glancing back every few steps. The boy didn't mind. He promised silently, "We'll come back. I swear." And so that night, the dog lay curled on a blanket in their small living room, ribs rising and falling in uneasy sleep. For the first time in weeks, he rested. But morning came, and with it, the pull. The dog stood at the door, whining softly. His paws scraped against the floor. His eyes begged. The boy understood. "Okay," he whispered, slipping on his shoes. "We'll go back." Together, they walked to the hospital. The dog hurried ahead, tail stiff, eyes shining as the sliding doors came into view. He sank to the ground beside the glass, resuming his post. The boy sat next to him, leaning his head against that coarse fur. "I told you," he said gently. "We'll come back every day. You don't have to choose." And so it became their routine. Each morning, the dog returned to the gate. Each evening, he followed the boy home. The hospital staff stopped trying to chase him away. The guard grumbled, but no longer called animal control. Even the nurses softened. The boy and the dog were a pair now, inseparable shadows. Weeks passed. The dog grew stronger. His ribs no longer jutted like broken wings. His coat grew shinier, his eyes brighter. Yet still, every day, he sat before those sliding doors, waiting. And every day, the boy waited with him. Sometimes he whispered stories. Sometimes he sat in silence. Sometimes he simply laid his hand on the dog's back, steady as a promise. One morning, the boy knelt beside him. The air was quiet, the glass doors reflecting their faces back. He rested his forehead against the dog's. His voice was steady, though his heart trembled. "He's gone," the boy whispered. "He won't walk out. But we're here. I'm here, and I won't leave you." The dog's ears flicked. For a long, aching moment, he stared at the glass. Then, slowly, he turned his head. His gaze lingered on the boy. And when the boy stood to walk away, the dog rose and followed. For the first time, he didn't look back. Months passed. The boy's mother recovered, her strength returning day by day. She often sat by the window, smiling as she watched her son and the dog play in the yard. The dog had changed. He no longer stood stiff and trembling. He bounded across the grass, chasing shadows, tail wagging like a banner in the wind. At night, he curled at the boy's feet, breathing steady, safe at last. Yet still, each morning, he visited the gate, not with desperation now, but with quiet ritual, a nod to the past, a moment of remembrance. Then he turned back, choosing to walk home with the boy. It was his way of honoring the man who had been his first family, and the boy who had become his new one. The town changed too. Whispers faded. Instead of complaints, people spoke of devotion. They told stories of the guardian dog, who had waited faithfully for weeks and then found a new home. Children patted his head when they passed. Nurses slipped him treats. Even the guards softened, scratching behind the ear one morning when no one was watching. The dog had gone from nuisance to legend. And at the heart of it all was the boy, the one who refused to let grief swallow loyalty whole. On a quiet evening, the boy sat on the porch steps, the dog curled against him. His mother rested inside, humming softly as she folded laundry. The boy stroked the dog's fur. "You don't have to wait any more," he whispered. "You found us. We found you." The dog shifted closer, pressing his head into the boy's chest. His eyes closed, his body finally at peace. The boy smiled, his throat tight with warmth. He realized then that love didn't vanish when someone left. It didn't end with loss. It only changed shape. The old man was gone. But the dog's loyalty lived on, woven now into the boy's laughter, his mother's recovery, their small home filled with hope. In the end, the dog hadn't lost his family. He had simply found a new one. And so the town remembered the stray who had waited at the hospital gate, not as a ghost, not as a nuisance, but as proof that love never dies. It only learns where to live next.